Hello, alchemists. I'm here to talk about the full moon that we have tomorrow, April the 12th, in the sign of Libra. This full moon is happening at 20 degrees. The sun is conjunct at the same degree of Chiron, 23 degrees of Aries, and the moon is opposite the sun and Chiron at 23 degrees of Libra. Aries, where the sun and Chiron are, is the energy of initiative, is the energy that invites us to follow our individual desire and to go for what we want. Libra is the energy that contrasts our own desire with whatever that we are in a bond with, in a relationship with. Sorry, this was the card that I wanted to show for Libra, but nonetheless, this card represents the combination of Aries and Libra, which can be that opposition of one own's desire with the effect or the counterpart that is external to us, that may be in agreement or in disagreement. So in this full moon, we may have been experiencing, because this is not really something that may be so new, since we're coming out of eclipse season, there might have been a lot of situations that have been triggered already that are connected to this full moon. So in a way, we have all been feeling things around relationships, around things that have to do with ourselves, but also with external factors that may have been in some sort of conflict. And then in this full moon, it's so very important that we take time to observe what is beyond the conscious being expressed. When I talk about relationships, which is a very important keyword for this full moon in Libra, I'm not necessarily talking about romantic relationship or even just relationships with humans. When we talk about relationship, we have to go beyond just that. We have to see that we have a relationship with everything in life. We have a relationship with ourselves. We have a relationship with our animal companions. We have a relationship with our phones, with our laptops, with technology. We have a relationship with our patterns, our habits. We have a relationship with our family. We have a relationship with work, and so on. So in this full moon, it's so very important to see, to observe what are the triggers from all of these relationships. Because certainly there may be things that are creating an irritation, a frustration within that we may need to look at. This not only because the sun is conjunct Chiron and the moon opposite to these two celestial bodies, but also because Mars, the ruler of Aries, is in a square to the sun and the moon, forming a T-square. So in this case, Mars in Cancer is here to trigger that wound, that frustration, that thing that feels like it's not letting us move forward. Because Mars in Cancer wants us to go within, to go to the past, to go to our childhood, to go to the root of things in order to resolve, so that we can move forward replenished with new energy, so that we can take new actions from a space of heart and not a space of fear, subconscious fear of the past trauma. And that is this square to Chiron. In this energy, Chiron represents the seeker. Chiron represents that moment when we have been going through something that feels like we have reached rock bottom, and we start our journey to seek answers in regards to the experience that we are having. So it is that moment of no longer accepting less and to start that journey of finding ourselves in order to heal those wounds that feel repetitive and cyclic and that keep coming back and back and back. And it's like asking ourselves, why am I going through this experience? What is this experience trying to teach me? Why am I being triggered for this situation? And what is it that it's doing in my life right now? But it's important that I look at these things and that I don't act as if nothing is happening, because Venus, planet that is the ruler of the moon in Libra, is in Pisces, and Venus has been retrograde for quite a while. And on the day of the full moon, tomorrow, April the 12th, Venus will be stationary direct, but it will still be retrograde at the time of the full moon, just very still, about to go forward. So it's a message, it's another message that it's so very important in these times to look at our past, to ask ourselves, how do we want to move forward? From what space do we want to move forward? Venus is involved in a stellium in Pisces. Venus is at 24 degrees, Saturn at 25 degrees, the North Node at 27 degrees, Mercury, which is now direct, at 28 degrees of Pisces, 4 celestial bodies there. And then Neptune, which just entered Aries on the 31st of March, is at 0 degrees of Aries, also in that stellium. So all of this energy here is creating a shift, a collective shift that resonates with the individual. And so in this full moon is very powerful, very, very powerful, because of how the two rulers of where the sun and the moon are directly involved with the energy of the sun and the moon. Mars, because it's in a T-square with the sun and the moon, but Venus is also involved because there is a yod, there is a finger of God, which is an aspect in astrology that represents a huge potential for evolution. And that happens when there's two quincunxes and a sextile. In this case, we have the moon in Libra. There's a quincunx from the moon to Venus in Pisces, and another one to Uranus in Taurus. Uranus and Venus are doing a sextile. But it's not only Venus, it's also all of that stellium there. So that may feel very uncomfortable. It may be like those situations that feel very uncomfortable to deal with. It's like facing the conflict, talking about the conflict that may feel very uncomfortable. It's like, like facing that situation that I'm having a relationship with, that person, that thing, or whatever it is, that I may not want to look at, or that I may not want to face or confront, because I know that will trigger a lot of stuff that I want to look at. But in this full moon, it's so important that we do, and that we don't actually escape from those things, because doing that will not benefit the way that potentially we can move forward. It's a beautiful opportunity that we have to solve these things from the past. And it's when we do that work that we go back to the root, the trauma, and we actually take the courage, the bravery to bring light to those things, that we can undo those knots and resolve from the root, so that we can move forward replenished and feeling more whole. The beautiful aspect that we have in this full moon is that Jupiter at 17 degrees of Gemini is in a trine to the moon in Libra. However, this is a double-edged sword, because Jupiter is also in a square to the stellium in Pisces, and Venus included, which is the ruler of Libra. So this can be a way in which Jupiter can bring that energy of feeling protected during the process. There can be situations that are there to support us, either people if we ask for help, or we may receive dreams that bring symbols and information to us that we need. It can be a synchronicity that is a helpful message, or just feeling intuitively our guides, our ancestors, holding and supporting the process that we're going through in making decisions at this time. So if we face our fears and we face the situations that we know we have to face, that energy of Jupiter can help. On the other hand, Jupiter is squaring the stellium in Pisces, which means that if we decide to not face the situations, to escape, to dissociate, to distract ourselves with the same usual patterns, Jupiter there can amplify those situations that may feel, or that may feed the frustration, the irritation, the anger, the rage of not feeling that things are moving forward, because we're also not willing to see our part. And so giving voice to what is happening is so important. Jupiter is in Gemini, Mercury is now direct in Pisces, so it's a very, very good way to tune in with the feeling in order to give it a way out, in order to be expressed. So in this full moon, connect a lot with your throat chakra. Libra is an air sign as well, so it's so very important that we communicate, that we create bridges so that we can bring out whatever we need to bring out, and that way those knots can be undone. So I hope that this information helps, and let's take into account that Saturn is also very implicated in this full moon. So taking the ownership and being able to hold ourselves, to grow into our own mother and father, to hold our inner children, is so important with the energies that we're going through. It's a time to grow into our full potential. It's a time to become and to embody our higher selves. And in order to do that, we need to connect with our adult selves, with the part of us that feels grounded, that feels capable to hold that child and to do and act coherently from the heart. So thank you for being here. I wish you a beautiful, harmonious, beautiful, beautiful full moon in Libra, and that we have the ability to alchemize the situations that connect us with any bond, any relationship that we have with anything in our lives, so that we can harmonize and that we can feel in a fulfillment with these aspects of our lives. I'll see you in another video. Thank you.